Our conversation with Josh Krug and Stephanie Dunlap is brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Let me punch them up here, get them on the board with us. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Todd. Thanks for having us on.
It's good to have you both with us here today. Stephanie, of course, with Indiana Borough Planning Department. Josh, you're with the County Planning and Development Department. But our concentration today is the census. You're both helping to lead that effort as well. And Josh, going to make a turning point here this weekend, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's coming early here in Indiana County, which I think is a good thing to us. I think it's to our benefit. But our region, the State College region, is getting 20 days early. The week of July 20th, folks will begin visiting homes of folks who have not self-responded.
Mm-hmm.
You still can self-respond through October, but we are encouraging folks to, obviously answer the door. This can affect funding for the next 10 years. It will. And, if somebody does come, there's certainly information online that you can check out, to verify that these are, in fact, census folks.
Yeah. Stephanie, let's ask you to help us to understand why the census is so important. It's not only funding, which is so very important, but we're talking about representation, we're talking about redistricting, we're talking about a lot of things when we talk about the census, aren't we?
Right. There's $675 billion that are annually allocated based off of census numbers. So like you said, that's different service projects and representation. It also helps people like Josh and I when we're doing long-range planning for what the community is going to look like in 10 years.
Yeah. Now, from an Indiana Borough standpoint, because you're not only census, you're Indiana Borough, we get the numbers every week about how the response has been, and you have a particular concentration here in Indiana Borough. Is it by neighborhood that we can tell where there's been some lagging behind, or is it generally spread out all over the borough?
So the data that's available is to the level of census tracts. So we have 4 within the borough. And the census tract that has the least self-response is obviously where IUP students are typically congregated. We sort of anticipated that would be a hard-to-reach area, and obviously the COVID pandemic has made that a little bit more difficult. But the Census Bureau, recognizing that college towns all over the country are dealing with issues like that, they've made provisions to try to get population counts directly from the college. That way, those communities are still getting all of the funding that they're entitled to based on population, even if they haven't gotten the self-response that other census tracts with more residential populations have had.
Yeah, there's never a good time for a pandemic, but in a 0 year, in a decade year, when the census is happening, that really becomes a difficult problem. And it's good that they're working so hard to overcome that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good that they acknowledge that there are thousands of communities across the country are dealing with things like that, and just trying to do as much outreach as we can under the circumstances.
Yeah. Hey, Josh, what can people expect when a census worker gets to their town?
Well, if you haven't self-responded, you can expect that somebody may knock on your door. They'll identify themselves as a census worker. They'll obviously be socially distanced, and they'll ask for probably 10 minutes of your time, to complete the census. And in doing so, you'll be fulfilling your constitutional responsibility as a citizen in the United States to take part in this thing that happens once every 10 years, as you were mentioning.
Yeah.
And it's critically important for a number of reasons. And, we're doing everything that we can here to let people know that you can respond online for the first time ever, by phone as well. You can go to 2020census.gov, or you can go to our ICOPD .org website. We have a census information portal there, which can provide a ton of information and then also, encouragement and outreach materials to help get this self-response up.
We have a natural aversion to strangers coming to the door, and it's understandable because we're just never sure who it is. Nonetheless, in this case, we're not looking at solicitors, we're not looking at scam artists, we're looking at people who are properly identified and credentialed, aren't we?
Absolutely, and we have worked in a partnership with our local law enforcement community through the sheriff's office and all the police departments in the county to let them know that this is occurring. So people can expect maybe a knock at the door, and they will identify themselves as a census worker, and we just encourage you to open the door, and you don't have to welcome them in. Obviously, they'll probably have some sort of notebook or pad of some sort that they'll collect the data on, and it should only take about 10 minutes. But we do have top 5 performers in the county right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have 5 municipalities, 4 of them townships, 1 Homer City borough, that are over 7%, and we're proud of that. But there certainly are places that still need to get on there and do that self-response.
Yeah. One of the interesting things to me as this has developed has been boroughs seem to have more difficulty getting responses than townships do. Why is that?
Well, in some respects, Todd, I think it's in the data. Some folks, especially the smaller boroughs in Indiana County, have P.O. boxes, so they weren't necessarily getting the information as early or as often as the other folks that weren't in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
That would be one reason that I would expect. Another possibility, may be vacant properties that are, being sent the census form, or for some reason, and then they're not getting a response.
Yeah.
And so they're not getting the expected response rate. But everybody can respond online and by phone, and everybody has the same opportunity. But this really, as you mentioned, is a turning point because folks will be visiting everywhere, and actually they'll be targeting areas that have those lower self-response rates. And we're going to work in partnership with them as they roll out something called a mobile questionnaire assistance center.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look at different areas in the county to help put some people actually boots on the ground, so to speak, have people in the field from the census that will be out there assisting folks, in the public realm.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting you put it that way, Stephanie. Of course, that Indiana Borough rental properties around the campus, they emptied much earlier than normally they would have, and so that's a little bit about what he's talking about, isn't it?
It is, and I know IEP hasn't necessarily finalized their plans for the fall, but we are hopeful that if students return, that the census will follow up in the August-September timeframe in order to try to reach some of those students that would be in those off-campus housings that, if the census worker goes to next week, are going to be vacant. But again, with the Census Bureau working more closely with universities than they have in previous years, we're hoping to get a full count regardless of whether or not students are in dwellings this fall.
Yeah, well, with the census actual sending people out earlier than normal, does that necessarily mean that they're going to end earlier than normal, or is there a time frame, or is there more of a response frame that you're looking at?
No, I mean the last day to self-respond and the last day that census takers will be out there will be August 31st, and they're going to be out there for the duration of that time, and so we're hoping that people are receptive to them as they come to their homes. And like Josh said, if you're not comfortable with someone coming to your home, that's a real incentive to utilize the online or phone-in method in order to fill that out, and then you won't have someone coming to your door.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it really is. When you get right down to it, it's 10 minutes of your time. It's not even that for a lot of us. It wasn't for us when we did ours. And we did ours as soon as the period opened, and then it's done with. And that's really the encouragement. Josh, I know that you would echo those thoughts. Do it now, get online, and get it over with so nobody comes to your house.
Well, and this is the time to do it. If you haven't already, then nobody will come to your house. And we are going to be celebrating next Friday through the supported by the Indiana County Commissioners, Indiana County Communities Count Day. And next week at the Commissioners meeting, they'll be doing a proclamation, and we're just really trying to celebrate the folks who have responded, celebrate our great Indiana County communities, countywide. But also encourage folks to self-respond. And we're doing a social media campaign with the hashtag Indiana County Counts and the 2020 census. And so we're really excited about, letting people know that this is something easy important, and confidential. And that's really the key. It's so important, and I think that's number one primary point, is that it's important. But moreover, it's easy and it's confidential, so there's no worries.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh and Stephanie, thanks so much for being with us.
Hey, I really appreciate it, Scott.
Thank
you.
All right, have a great weekend. It's Indiana in the Morning. It's WCCS. WCCS.